In Ukraine, over in the east, is adding strain to our pockets here in South Africa. I'll tell you why. The March 2022 Household Affordability Index has showed that the cost of basic foods has increased. It's jumped significantly. This index is compiled by the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group. And we're joined now, of course, by its program director. Always a pleasure, Mervyn Abrahams. Morning to you as well. And it's a staggering amount of money. And you and I had this conversation many times now, but you warned us about this last year, how bad this was going to be. But it must be even surprising for you, Mervyn, how bad it actually is.
Good morning, Gareth, and good morning to all your viewers. Yes, it is staggering. If I can just give the viewers a bit of the numbers. So our average basket contains 44 basic foods. It now stands at 4,450 Rand for that basket. That is an increase of 94 Rand and 39 cents since last month, and a 410 Rand 53 cents since last year. So about 2% increase just month on month, and 10% increase year on year, which is well above the levels of income increase that households have seen.
It's not just their households and their income as well. Whenever, Mervyn, you and I have this conversation and we talk about the basic food basket, my mind always goes to the very large sector of our population that can only afford the very basics. We're not even talking middle class. We're talking about those that rely on government income grants. They could barely afford a basic food basket, can they?
So government grantees cannot afford a basic food basket, let alone a nutritious basket. So when we look at, for instance, the cost of this basket of 4,450, and we take into account the old age pension, which is about 1,890 Rand, and we know from our research that the old age pension really goes to buying food for the household. So an old age pension would only be able to access about 1/3 of the basket of food as its cost at this moment.
And it's only going to get worse, isn't it? We know with the ongoing conflict in Eastern Europe, we obviously hope that comes to an end as quickly as possible, but we're going to start seeing fuel prices go up. And you and I know this, once the fuel prices go up and the jump it might make, this basket we're talking about is going to become unaffordable, even for those who might have some spare change.
Yes, Gareth. So it's important to note that we collect our data in the first week of each month. So these figures reflect the first week of March. Since then, we have seen further spikes in fuel prices, in wheat prices, sunflower prices, all of which we import, fertilizer products, all of which we import. Our rand is not being particularly strong. So we are expecting that next month we will see a further increase in the cost of our basket.
And just before I say goodbye to you, Mervyn, it's some very worrying numbers and forecasts that you're throwing out. Government, no doubt, watching our conversation now. South Africans want to know, is there anything that government can do? Is there any leeway? Is it government that we should be relying on to try and come up with a solution? Help me understand.
So government has a role to play, and a significant role to play, one of which could be, as all the suggestions, they cut back on the amount of taxes in the petrol price, will make fuel prices a bit more expensive, and then, of course, that will come down to retail prices for the consumer. But also consumers would have to be extremely careful as to how they spend their money. I always suggest make a list in your house before you go to the store, and stick to that list. Do not buy anything outside of that list because you might not need it. We have to be extremely careful about how we spend, because the outlook for the further part of the year is as bad as it is now.
Yeah, and Maya Fisher, French financial journalist, who I'm sure might be watching this, is nodding her head, I'm sure, Mervyn, saying, in fact, her advice is, if you're one of those people who has a credit card or a debit card, don't even take the card in with you. draw the money and go and buy what you need to, because that's how we get ourselves into trouble. Mervyn Abrahams, it's always such a pleasure speaking to you. So you can only imagine what it's going to look like in a month's time from now, if it's already as bad as Mervyn Abrahams from the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group is saying what it costs for a basic food basket now. Just imagine if this fuel price goes up again, as it is expected to, what that's going to look like in about a month's time from now.